Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Hello, Trillium. Is there a nurse in the house? It's like, how do we get people's attention? Today, everybody's a nurse at THP. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Carly Farrow, your CEO. And thank you for coming into our common area at the Mississauga Hospital, which is, I think we've got a little reverb here, which is this amazing cafeteria. We're really happy to be all together to celebrate the kickoff to Nursing Week at Trillium Health Partners. I'm not going to spend very much time here because I do want to get on with the show, as they say. Thanks for people who have joined. Thank you to those of you who are online. We've got a big treat, and we're going to talk about that soon. But I want to start by saying it's always a really joyous occasion to get into the month of May and be celebrating our healthcare professionals. And we got to kick it off with Doctors' Day, International Day of the Midwife, and now we move into National Nursing Week, which is incredibly important. And to all of our nurses here today, nurses across THP, across our region, across our province, across our country, you hold our healthcare system in a very, very important way. And this year we're celebrating everything that healthcare is today because of your leadership, your commitment, your dedication, and always here thinking about your role in shaping the healthcare of the future. So without further ado, I am so pleased to introduce our amazing Chief Nursing Executive, Terri Irwin, who's going to get the show on the road. Terri Irwin.
Okay, I'm going to check my steps because, yeah, I'm at about 11,000 already today. I texted Catherine this morning. I said, happy nursing week. I've got my rollerblades on. So good afternoon, everyone here in the cafeteria at M-Site and online. Happy nursing week. My name is Terri Irwin. I'm the Chief Nursing Executive and Executive Vice President of Patient Care Services. And it's just my honor to be here to wish all of you a happy nursing week. This year's Nursing Week theme is Changing Lives, Shaping Tomorrow. This theme recognizes the tremendous impact that nurses have on individuals, communities, and the future of our healthcare system. I also want to acknowledge that today, May 6th, we also recognize Indigenous Nurses Day, a day dedicated to honoring the remarkable contributions and accomplishments of Indigenous nurses. On this day, we celebrate their tireless efforts to elevating the nursing profession and advocating for Indigenous people's rights and health equity. Some of my early mentors, some of you may know, were Indigenous nurses. I spent some time up at Winnebago General Hospital in the James Bay when I was a young nurse. And I have many fond memories of the mentors that I had in the James Bay mentoring me in women's and children's health. And those memories of those leaders, Indigenous nurses, and the mark that they had on me and as I moved through my career is something that I will never forget. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Samoy, who is going to lead us in our land acknowledgement today. Over to you, Samoy. It's up to you, whatever you want to do.
Good afternoon, everyone. The land on which THP operates has been the site of human activity since time immemorial. It is the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. It is also the traditional territory of the Huron, Wendat nations and the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. The land and lakes in this region continue to be home to many First Nations, Inuit and Métis communities from across Turtle Island, which is currently known as North America. They continue to mobilize, live, and care for these lands and its inhabitants. People across Turtle Island have been confronted by the legacies of white supremacy. This includes the legacy of genocide, which Indigenous folks have known all along and whose demands for action were ignored. It is also on this land that we are confronted by the legacies and current realities of Black racism and slavery, the legacies of anti-Asian racism and indentured labor, the legacies of anti-Semitism and Islamophobia, the legacies of erasing sexual and gender diversities, the legacies of promoting ableism, sizeism, ageism, and the legacies of religious violence. Now, as a person of Jamaican descent, a lady of color and mature age, I am able to easily say and understand the racism, ageism, and at times the prejudice in society, present and past. As a person born and raised in Ontario, society does not always care about that. History has made the path of influence of how one is to be treated. For example, as a Black woman, many may say, you don't have to worry about getting that job or position. Well, let the competition begin. Many do not see your skills first. They see your physical attributes that are not on your application, resume, or CV. Now, as a nurse, I've had the opportunity to be spat on, cursed at, isolated in the work environment, requested to be replaced, and not liked for just being me, a happy, strong, patient, proud of my accomplishments, and for being a humble human, the same way others may have been treated on this land many years ago, and many times in the present. Today, it is with great pleasure to be in an organization that is like a land of opportunity. This organization has given way to creating and allowing staff to participate on committees and councils and to voice the inequities, develop fairness and promote anti-aggression and welcome all in an environment like the people of this land of new legacies. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Simoy. Simoy Carroll is an RN in our Neuro-MSK program. You're going to hear more from Simoy about nursing retention. She's also one of our nursing advisory committee members. So this week we have an exciting lineup of events, and we want to encourage everyone to attend as many events as you can possible. So animal therapy, of course, yoga, mini massages, ice cream, coffee. On Wednesday, we will also have a fireside chat with some of our THP nursing leaders at Credit Valley Hospital in the atrium, which will also be the site of a very special announcement that we encourage you all to attend. In this fireside chat, we're going to have a candid conversation about some of our THP nursing leaders' career journey. And this was informed by feedback from our Nursing Advisory Council feedback. I also want to mention that this week, THP nurses will be taking over the studio audience for CTV's The Social on Wednesday and Thursday. That's right, you're going to want to tune in for that. We'll also be presenting Nursing Excellence Awards at the unit huddles and have a free hot beverage day on Sunday, May 12th, which is in true THP fashion. You can find the full calendar of events on the THP Hub. I also want to take a moment right now to recognize those who were nominated for the Nursing Hero Awards in the hospital news. For the second year in a row, THP had the most nominations out of any hospital, which is incredible. These awards stand as a beacon of recognition for the best and the brightest in nursing, and I'm really, really pleased to highlight the exceptional efforts of those who received honorable mentions: Jerry Henry, Lindsay Lauer, Jose Oliveira, and Ivana Matic-Bachelik, who received honorable mentions for their exemplary contributions to nursing. Not only do these nominees and honorable mentions exist in the hospital news this week, but each and every one of you, I just want to acknowledge for your unwavering commitment to providing exceptional patient care here at THP. Before we begin today's events, I did want to turn your attention to the TVs for a National Nursing Week message from our very own Lee Chapman, who is the Chief Nursing Officer of Canada.
Every day, Canada's nurses provide essential and compassionate care to us and our loved ones in our toughest moments. During National Nursing Week, let's come together to celebrate nurses, acknowledge their skills and competencies, and thank them for their invaluable contributions to our health and well-being. The theme of this year's National Nursing Week is Changing Lives, Shaping Tomorrow. While nurses help save and change lives every day, they also have an influence in shaping our health system for the future. As Chief Nursing Officer, I've had the privilege of meeting nurses in every province and territory in Canada. They need to know that we support them and their well-being for the future. That is why I worked with our nursing community to develop a retention toolkit created by and for nurses. The toolkit is a resource for employers aimed at enhancing nurses' current working conditions. I am proud to be part of the Government of Canada's efforts committed to strengthening Canada's healthcare system and support nurses and other health professionals who keep it running every day. I know how hard nurses work to provide care for their patients, families, and communities. On behalf of the Government of Canada, thank you, nurses, and happy Nursing Week.
So huge thanks to Lee. She can't be in all places at the same time, so video message from her. This week, we celebrate the resilience, compassion, and unwavering dedication that nurses demonstrate every day. And we celebrate the moments of joy, the triumphs, the bonds forged with patients and colleagues alike. But we also acknowledge the challenges, the sacrifices, and the resilience required to navigate the complexities of today's healthcare system. On Monday, March 4th, we were honored to host Dr. Lee Chapman and Canada's Minister of Health, Mark Holland, at our Credit Valley Hospital for a very special announcement, which was the launch of the National Nursing Retention Toolkit. Two of our very own nurses were part of the frontline engagements during the toolkit's development, and the toolkit focuses upon drawing upon the expertise of the national nursing community, evidence-based practice, and current lived experience to target retention strategies for nurses at all phases of their career. Here at THP, we will be using the toolkit to engage with nurses across the organization to understand what we do well and what we could be doing better to develop retention strategies that are meaningful to our teams. I encourage you all to read through the toolkit on the Government of Canada's website and to think about what retention means to you. This brings us today to today's special event, and I'm so excited. A live podcast on nursing retention with a side of laughs. The Gritty Nurse podcast examines hot topics related to nursing, health, and healthcare. If you've heard their podcast, you would know that their episodes are informative, gritty, funny, and educational. And if you haven't already listened, well, you're in for an exceptional treat. So at this point, I'm very pleased and grateful to welcome two very special guests joining us today, Amie Archibald-Varley and Sara Fung, for a live podcast. We did have their music queued up. Ah, there it is.
We're so excited to be here. So hi and welcome to the Greeners podcast live at Trillium Health Partners. We're so excited to be here and to be talking about Nursing Week. I said to Sarah, we should be singing. I know she's looking at me like, don't do this, Amie. But I was like, yeah, who run the world? Nurses. Who run the world? Nurses. Who run the world? Nurses. Anyways, just to get started and get us all kicked off, but I'll pass it over to Sarah.
We are so excited to be here. It's been a long, long pandemic, okay? And let me just say, it's really refreshing to do these sorts of events in person and really hear you guys and see your faces. And we couldn't be more proud to be here today. So without further ado, we want to introduce the other members of this panel. And we're going to start with Samoy. If you could just talk about, just introduce yourself, your role, and why it is that you chose nursing.
Okay. Hi again. My name is Samoy Carroll. I'm a registered nurse with the Neurosurgery MSK unit division. And I became a nurse because I felt I wanted to advocate for the patient and do more and all holistic care for the patient. So that's basically what I wanted to do. And I became a nurse. Thanks.
Thank you for that,
Amazing.
Samoy.
And we'll go next now to Allison.
Hi, I'm Allison Da Silva. I've been a registered nurse for 14 years. I'm one of the skin, wound, and ostomy clinicians at Trillium Health Partners. I became a nurse because I wanted to help people feel better, as simple as it is. And I always had a fascination with how the body works, but the career became so much more than that when you kind of dive into it.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, Carmela.
Hi, my name is Carmela Scarf. I am a nurse, part-time with sexual assault, domestic violence services, and that's the regional program here at Trillium. And I also work casual in the mental health ICU. The reason I became a nurse is when I was a young teenager, I was a long-term patient at Sick Kids. And I was inspired by the nurses I encountered. I saw how kind and caring they were, not only to myself, but to my mother. And I knew then I wanted to continue on the compassionate work. And also my older sister was a nurse, and I saw the joy that it brought to her. And I saw firsthand how nursing was. And then here I am. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that.
38 years later.
Wow.
Wow,
Give it a hand for
amazing.
38 years. So we're so delighted to have all of you here to have this conversation with us. And honestly, it's just a conversation. So if any nerves are there, we're going to get rid of them right away. We're just talking. We're all friends here. We're all nurses. We know we know this business, right? But I'll first start with Terri. We have a question for you. Dun, dun, dun. So the past few years have been definitely challenging time for nurses. What are some of the things that you've been working on as a CNE of Trillium in relation to nursing retention? What are some challenges, some opportunities, some wins?
First of all, I can't believe how relaxed you are. You must have done this before.
Maybe.
Yeah, this is definitely this is a first for me.
Okay. It's all good.
But the first job as chief nursing executive when I started just over a year ago was to stabilize the workforce. Coming out of the pandemic, we all know we experienced it. The workforce was in rough shape. And the good news is that we have made remarkable progress in this regard. Our nursing turnover is down from about 12% to 8%. Our vacancies are down from as high as 11% to 7%. Our agency use has stabilized and our overtime is down. So now is the time for us to talk about how we retain our talent. We know that 50% of our nurses at THP have less than 5 years of experience. And what that means is that we need to ensure that we have wraparound supports for those nurses as they adjust to their career, because we don't want them to leave in the first few years of their career. And not only that, we need to ensure that our experienced nurses have support as well, because they're supporting the new learners at our organization. And they also have that bird's eye view to ensure that our patients are safe. And that causes stress and it causes burnout. And so myself, along with our human resources and people team and our practice team are very much focused on how we utilize some amazing funding from the government and THP resources to provide those wraparound supports for new nurses, late career nurses, and our mid-career nurses too. I have to talk about engagement. Engagement with our nurses through avenues like our Nursing Advisory Council and with our health disciplines and our interprofessional advisory council is crucial. And this is spoken to in the retention toolkit. Nurses having a voice in the decision-making at our hospital is crucial to retaining the talent that we have here. And that's something that former leaders at THP set the groundwork for that I'm very focused on continuing. So I know we still have opportunities. Certainly, we still face a lot of challenges with workforce challenges in our specialty areas. But this is something that will just take time. And I remember, a couple of years ago saying to the teams, okay, guys, it feels really bad now, but we're working really hard, and I promise it won't change overnight, but it'll change over time. And I think that's what we're seeing now, and we'll continue to see that in our specialty areas too. It's just going to take a bit more time.
Yeah, no, thank you for that, Terri. And I think what you mentioned about like the wraparound care, I would say that Sara and I, from the conversations we've been having with nurses and frontline nurses, we get messages all the time that is the nursing force that's leaving that early career nursing. And I just love the idea about wraparound care, because that is what is needed. We need supports. We need people to show that, we're valued, because I think that's the messaging that we hear, that, they're not valued. So thank you so much for all of that. And there's so much to celebrate here at THP. You mentioned a lot of great things. So definitely something to celebrate during Nursing Week. Of course, like you mentioned, there are some challenges, but I think as long as we tackle them together, better together, that we can continue to move forward. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Sorry. We just know that if our people don't feel cared for, then our patients won't get the best care possible. We know that.
100%.
That's right. Yeah.
I totally agree. And what I heard was that there were a number of initiatives, not just for new grad nurses, but nurses across their career. And I think that's really inspirational. And one of the other things I heard was that you really wanted to give nurses a voice.
Yes.
I think that's really impactful. That's the main reason why Amie and I created the podcast, was we didn't feel like we had a voice. And this was one way that we could sort of share a message and make people feel not so alone. So thank you so much for that, Terri. And speaking of what keeps nurses in the workforce, and speaking of joy, we all know Dr. Lee Chapman. She created something called the Nursing Retention Toolkit, and she was actually at THP for the announcement of this toolkit. And I'm just wondering, what does nursing retention look like at THP, and what would a frontline nurse's takeaway be of this toolkit?
So it's a great question, Sara. And the truth is, we don't really know yet. We have little snippets of feedback through our Nursing Advisory Council since the toolkit was just launched in March. And so what we need to do is dig deep and engage with our nurses to understand what the elements of the Nursing Retention Toolkit mean to them. What does flexible scheduling mean to a nurse at THP? What does inspired leadership mean to a nurse at THP? And so coming out of the launch of the Nursing Retention Toolkit, we've built some plans into our broader people plan, supported by our people team and our practice team, to really do deep engagement with our nurses across THP to understand what the elements of the toolkit mean to them.
Yeah, I think that's so important that, I think this is a perfect opportunity for nurses to really dig their heels in and to kind of be that agent of change, right? I think there's so many times where we're just like, oh, how can we make change? Or I don't feel like my voice matters. This is a really perfect opportunity for nursing to really show up. And I also think about the fact that, we haven't had a chief nursing officer for over 10 years. This is kind of a pivotal moment. And I want all the nurses to think out there today, right? You do have a voice, you can make some change, and we do have to put some pressure on some some of our governments. I know some people might be like, oh, I don't want to have that conversation, but we do. Minister Mark Holland came here and announced that there was $200 billion worth of money going towards the provinces, but who do we have to hold accountable? It is going to be our provincial government. So we have to say, hey, as nurses, what's happening with the funding in Ontario for nursing, in relation to the retention toolkit? We all have a role to play, and part of it is a little bit political as well. So I will direct the next question to Allison. So THP is known for the vision of working better together and your mission of a new kind of healthcare for a healthier community. Can you share an experience of an exemplary nurse at THP?
I could probably share many experiences in this very room. It's actually really neat to see so many of my colleagues that I worked with over the years that I haven't seen in so long. It's nice to see all your faces, and I've experienced with all of you and things I've learned. But the one that comes to mind and in the forefront of my mind for me is a friend and colleague, Jerry Henry.
Is Jerry here today?
He's not, he's at the Credit Valley site, but
Maybe
everyone
Jerry's
knows Jerry.
online. If you're online, Jerry, you're getting a lot of love here.
He's gonna be so mad that I mentioned
Send those hearts in and those likes.
But he exemplifies to me what all the things that a nurse could and should be. The knowledge and experience that he has, that he's always willing to share. He's always willing to learn more and share that knowledge. When we talk about joy in work, you see that joy come when he's teaching. He is just animated. If you've been in any of his classes, he's, he really comes to life and makes you love what he's talking about, even if it's a topic you don't like. But so not only is he an incredible content expert, he shows up in every interaction, patient, family, coworker, with ultimate kindness and compassion in every interaction. And what more could you ask for in a colleague? He's the kind of person you would want caring for yourself or your loved one. So I look up to him literally and figuratively. He's very tall, but he's my nursing hero. So he's the kind of person I think we should look up to, and he exemplifies
That's amazing. Exceptional nursing care. I can't wait to meet Jerry someday. He sounds like a truly exemplary nurse.
We need a little bit of what Jerry has. So wherever you are, Jerry, hopefully you're listening. Please put that in a bottle and package it for all of us so we can also have that joy as well. Because I think that's, like you mentioned, that compassionate care goes a long way, and it really does transform the way that we deliver care. So thank you, Jerry, for all that you do. Happy Nursing Week.
And just moving on now to Carmela, talking about careers and having a long career at THP. It's really incredible how long you've been here and what you've done with your career so far. I'm just wondering what keeps you here and how do you stay involved and engaged in your work?
Thank you. Nursing has been an incredibly rewarding profession. It has allowed me to make meaningful impact in the lives of people over the years, whether it's been providing comfort, saving lives, or promoting health. It's a profession that has offered growth, learning, and specialization. And it's deeply fulfilling to service the people in the community which I live in. And an example of engagement, most recently, I studied and wrote the International Association of Forensic Nursing certification. It was very challenging and most rewarding, as I haven't been a student for a very long time. And within THP, I'm a member of the Nursing Advisory Committee, and it unexpectedly sparked a new interest in nursing to me that I'm very grateful for. And it's shown me that the future is in good hands with our novice nurses. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think I can't wait. So what stories we'll be able to tell 35 years from now. I guess we'd be considered mid-career nurses.
Yeah.
Hopefully not giving too much away. But I think it's such a wealth to hear from nurses that have worked so long. And maybe I could just ask you with one little surprise question. What surprised you the most about nursing in the last 35 years? Is that a tricky one?
That's a tricky one. that the amount of learning that's available for us and the learning, it's very dynamic and always changing and keeping up with the changes. And there's always something new and better coming along. And sometimes we circle back to what was new and better 10, 20 years ago.
Yep, you're 100% right. I think that's something that we all can take away and learn from. So thank you so much for that
Yeah,
as
I
well.
think change is always a constant in healthcare, right? And we just have to roll with it. There are some things that just have to change, right? And being able to adapt is one of the things I think all of us nurses are really, really great at.
You're definitely good at adapting. So in the same vein of talking about joy and what keeps us here, Samoy, this question's for you. As you know, nursing is much more than a list of tasks to perform. How do you find joy in your work? And can you share some examples with us? Sure. Come on, Samoy, we know you got something.
Well, joy in the workplace. I have relationships with colleagues, and at times they bring laughter, support when you need it, and a feel of being a part of a special team. And also having workplace balance. I find keeping work at work and home, there isn't that combustion in my head or that confusion or excess stress. I go home, it's like detox time. Come back to work, it's stress time. But it's good stress. It's happy stress. And just keeping them separate all the time. Also, meeting patients of different nationalities and cultures and hearing a lot of their lovely stories. I've had so many stories over the last 2 weeks. I'm at one point I just had to leave a room and just cry. I was so happy. And participating in hospital activities, committees, and councils. So those are things that keep me happy in the workplace and taking advantage of a lot of the extracurricular activities like massages.
We love the massages.
Yes, they're coming up this week.
I think, can I just comment? I think Carmela and Samoy have kind of circled back to what I was talking about in terms of the importance of engagement. And I just, Carmela and I were having a chat last week, and she was talking about how her involvement in the Nursing Advisory Council has really re-sparked her kind of passion for nursing and hope for the future of nursing. And I found that, not surprising, but it was just really, really nice to hear Kamala speak about that and just how important it is that we engage nurses and give staff the opportunity just in general to engage with us as leaders and to have a voice in what we're doing at THP.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
You had me at massages. That is my favorite thing. And it really sounds like at THP, it's kind of like pick your own adventure. There's just so much you could get involved in if you want to, and so much support that's there for you. And it just sounds like such an amazing work environment. As you know, we wrote a book called The Wisdom of Nurses, and we share a lot of stories and things that we've learned along the way. We share stories of other nurses as well. And I'm just thinking about pearls of wisdom. So we've used this word wisdom a lot in our talk and in our book. And I wanted to ask each one of you on this panel what you think is needed in this current climate to support nurses. What do you think the public needs to know about nursing? So I'm going to start with Allison.
I think there's a lot of things that the rest of the world needs to know about nurses, especially if they don't know a nurse. They may not truly understand what we do. But I think one thing that came out of the pandemic, people became more aware of the impact of nursing, but we became heroes,
Right.
Superheroes with the cape, and you can do anything, overcome all these obstacles with no resources. Good for you. Like we're some superhuman, creatures. We're humans. We have families. We need to go home. We need support to do our jobs. And I think it's important that the public knows that or even realizes that. I've even heard feedback from family and friends when, we talk about the work that we're doing with things like wages and retention. And people will say to me, well, you knew what you were getting into. No one gets into a profession hoping to be devalued. We go into it because we love it. We love taking care of patients in a variety of ways and supporting each other. But we need the resources to do that, just like any other profession. And I think that's something that maybe public doesn't know.
Thank you for that, Allison. That comment always annoys me, right? When they're just like, oh, you should know what you're getting into. It's like, well, yeah, we understand that a firefighter knows that they might go into a burning building. We might know that a police officer might have a dangerous action in their job. But again, there are certain parts of the job that aren't a part of the work, right? So for example, abuse, violence towards nurses, some of the other things that we've seen throughout the pandemic, it's not a part of our work. Our work is taking care of patients and families, making sure that we see better outcomes, making sure that, our patients and families leave better than they return, that they've come in for. But it's not a part of the job to not have the resources, to have to leave your shift crying or have to stay an extra couple hours because there's not enough staff. Those aren't things that are aspects of that are part of the job. So again, that education from us having these conversations are so hugely important. So people understand and realize that no, it's maybe a reality of nursing, but it's not a part of the work that we do.
Absolutely. And it really isn't something that the public should think is part of the job either. I mean,
Right.
we went through so many difficult times during the pandemic, and nurses advocated for what they believed they needed to provide patient care. And unfortunately, it didn't quite pan out in a lot of ways. But I think those were some really great pearls of wisdom, and I really appreciate all your insight and expertise. So I'd like to ask the same question now to Carmela. What pearls of wisdom do you think are needed, and what does the public need to know?
I think a few points to consider in supporting nurses in today's times may include mental health resources and wellness programs. And this would promote physical health, stress reduction, work-life balance, and resilience building. Also, adequate and safe staffing levels, ensuring enough nurses are there to meet the patient's needs without overburdening staff, which could lead to burnout and decreased quality of care. And this would promote physical and emotional safety for the nurse at work, and flexible and balanced work schedule that would work for the organization, the unit, and the nurse to accommodate personal needs and preferences, whether it's related to taking care of your children, taking care of elderly parents, or pursuing educational opportunities. And what I think the public needs to know is that nurses are essential frontline care providers, and together we should share mutual respect. And building trust between nurses and the community and the patients that we service allows for open communication and collaboration and decision-making about healthcare needs and their options.
Thank you so much, Carmela. I think one of the things that's really important is that if you are feeling challenged, if you're feeling mental distress, it's okay to not be okay. And it's okay to ask for help. And I think as nurses that are predominantly women, we have a really hard time acknowledging or asking for help. And just normalizing that conversation, I think, is really important. So I think that everything you said, Carmela, it makes a lot of sense. And I truly value your years of experience and your expertise.
Can I just make a comment on that? So I think just in the vein of safety and feeling like you're safe to put your hand up and say, I'm not okay. One thing that we're really focused on at THP is ensuring that we create in every area of our organization a psychologically safe environment for everyone, no matter what the color of your skin is, no matter what shape, size, what your sexual identity is. So that you feel safe and that you can bring your whole self to work. And I think that is a very, very important element of retention at our workplace, as it relates to finding that family that you want to have at your workplace where you spend most of your time.
Yeah, I think that's so important to hear, right? I think we've talked about psychological safety a lot, even on our podcast, and having an environment where you can feel that you can have a conversation. So Terri, I hope your door is open. We're going to send
My
people
door's
your
open.
way.
I say that every time. Yeah, just pop me an Outlook. You can find my mobile number, my email, and you can reach out anytime.
Yeah, and like Sara said, it's okay to not be okay. We've talked very openly about our challenges, and I'm going to say this too. Sometimes it's okay to just be like, I can't work, like I can't be here, because I think nurses, we tend to want to continue pushing through, or we're like, oh, you know what, one more shift, or, I can't let my team members down if I'm sick. Sometimes you're sick and you need to take that time to look after yourselves. You need to, see a social worker, a psychologist. You need to take that time to look after yourself. We're so good at looking after our patients and families, but we don't do a really good job of looking after ourselves. So I say to you today that if you are struggling and you have challenges, I think we have a slide that we could throw up at the end about some resources, but make sure that you take care of yourself. There is only one of you. You have loved ones, folks that care for you and want to see you around. So make sure that you take care of yourself, because at the end of the day, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of those patients that you care so much about as well.
Absolutely. So don't put yourself last. You need to put yourself first.
Yes.
So now I'd like to ask the same question to Samoy. What pearls of wisdom do you think are needed, and what do you think the public needs to know?
Well, I've put a few words together in different little blurbs. So pearls of wisdom, patience is golden. Another one, the journey of healthcare is through knowledge, skill, and experience. The last one, nurses help us start life. Nurses help us throughout our life. Nurses are there as one moves from life. Nurses are always there. Thank you for having a nurse in your life. Now to the public, nursing is physically and mentally demanding, along with many times of empathetic emotions due to their own personal lives without anyone knowing. Nurses are here for every patient at all times of need. So hearing that please and thank you is appreciated and very special. Nursing is a profession who we choose wisely to do. It is a profession nurses work, get sick, recover, and return to take care of the sick. So nurses will not leave you without someone to care for you. We are here once you ask or come to us.
Those are such lovely words, Samoy. I'm like sitting here, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm
I
about to
love
like
it.
tear up. But yeah, I mean, thank you for all of those words, and specifically to the public, because I think those are the messages that we want to hear, that the public needs to hear about nursing as a profession, and about, the things that are dear to our hearts and what makes us continue to take and do the work that we do. So thank you, Samoy, for those beautiful words.
Thank you. It was like a poem listening to you read that. It was really beautiful. And last but not least, I'm going to turn this question over to Terri. What pearls of wisdom do you think are needed, and what would you like the general public to know?
So anyone who hears me talk about nursing these days, I'm usually trying to recruit people to become nurses. So what I would tell the public is the profession of nursing is one of, and I think you commented on this, Samoy, one of skill, intense knowledge, and experience. The opportunities are endless in this profession, and we really do touch every aspect of the healthcare system and other systems across the board. And because of that, the experiences that we have in supporting patients and their families through, birth, death, the ups, the downs, the in-betweens, it is such a rewarding career. And I really do think that coming out of the pandemic, the experiences that we had in severe workforce shortages and the introduction of so much new talent, the future of nursing is so hopeful. And I just really, really want to encourage anyone who's out there, especially my 16-year-old daughter, Emily, if you're listening, to consider nursing as a career, because it has been, for me, just such a privilege and an honor to touch the lives of many.
Yeah, thank you so much for that message. Oh gosh, whose baby is that crying? Is that my baby? That actually is my baby.
It is her baby.
No, thank you so much for those words. And I think it's so important that we do recognize that. Yeah, sorry, it is my baby. Now that everyone's distracted, where's the baby? But yeah, no, those words are so important. And I think that, we do need to see more nurses. And people ask us all the time, Sarah, they're like, oh, how do like after all the things that you've seen, after all the things that you've experienced, why do you continue to come back to nursing? And I think it's because it is such a wonderful profession. We get to see people on their best days, their worst days. We make changes in terms of their outcomes. We send them better than they came in. Like I couldn't, what profession does that?
Exactly. And,
We
people
do.
ask me all the time, do you regret going into nursing? And I will say, I have never once for 1 minute regretted my path. I think there are many ways to be a nurse. And if you don't know what you want to do, then you can create your own path like
Right.
Amie and I did. So the possibilities are endless. And I think there are so many great characteristics and skills we develop as nurses. We are multitaskers.
Oh, yes.
We work well under pressure. We can hold our bladders for 12 hours. We
That's
can,
not a good quality.
we can work on no sleep. Like these are things that you can't really say about any other profession. And I'm so proud to be a nurse. And I hope everyone listening is too, because it really is the best profession out there. You could be part of someone's best day of their life, their worst day, everything in between. And like Terri said, you're there at the beginning, at the end. Everyone at some point in their life is going to need a nurse.
100%. And that's why we're here to celebrate nurses and for Nursing Week. So thank you all the nursings for what you've done, what you continue to do, and what we believe that you'll do in the future, right? We know that there's some nurses advocates out there. We're finding you. We're going to point you out. And we're the future is hopeful for nursing. I truly believe that as well. So thank you so much for listening to our live event at THP with the Greeters Podcast, and I'll pass it over to Terri.
Thank you so much. How awesome was that, guys? We did it. Yay, our first podcast at THP. I never thought that this would be like, one of my achievements as chief nursing executive, but I'll take it. So just a huge thank you to you, Amie. Superwoman with the what? Like
5.5 week old. Do you want to
Yep.
do you want to bring her
in the
up?
back.
Bring Miss Lily up.
There she is. She's gonna get
She's
a
coming.
Samoy, who worked a night shift last night. Carmela, who's suffering,
God.
recovering from a migraine. So, if this isn't proof that nurses can do everything. I'm not sure how Amy's partner Jordan feels about this, but anyways, there she is, future nurse. So Lily, I did say that I recruit everyone. So yeah. So just a huge thank you to you, Amie, Sara, Samoy, Allison, who also forgot to mention that she was last year's THP Nurse of the Year. Soon to be dethroned. Yeah. And Carmela, just a huge advocate for nursing, and just so thank you for stepping out of your comfort zone for me. So with that, I will let everyone get on with their day. But before we do that, we do have some books to raffle off. And they're right here in front of me. So for those who are here with us in the audience, you did put your name on a piece of paper. So the first winner is Trish Naval. Okay, second winner is Natalie Nelson, Medicine 3A. If they're not here, we'll find them. Carlene Kennedy, Discharge Planning. Number 4, Belinda Riker. So these people are winning Amie and Sarah's book, The Wisdom of Nurses, just so that everyone knows who is online. And our last winner is Renitha Ajesh, 3C Seniors. Okay, we'll get them their books. So just a reminder to everyone, if you happen to be here at site and you're going to be at Credit Valley tomorrow, if you're online and you're going to be at Credit Valley tomorrow, Amie and Sara are going to be with us for a meet and greet from 2:30 to 4:30. So you can meet with them and bring your book if you have one to get it signed. And they're going to stick around with us until 4:30 today to do the same. So if you can stick around, say hello, have a chat, we would love to have you do that. So hope everyone has a very inspiring nursing week and get out there and participate in all the events. Really great to see you all, and take care.